Hello, my name is Rowlands. I'm a fully certified nutritional balancing practitioner. If you like my YouTube videos and you would like me to answer questions live on video for you, then please send me an email to lewis@deephealingspace.com. Hello, my name is Rowlands. I'm a nutritional balancing practitioner. And in this video I'm going to talk about sleep difficulties, especially when they're related to a nutritional balancing program. Now, most people's sleep difficulties is quite unique, so if you want me to personally go over yours, please send me an email at lewis@deephealingspace.com. Alright, so the first thing is copper toxicity. Now, this is a big problem for most people. Now, a lot of people, when I talk about copper toxicity, and initially they start thinking, how have I got copper in my system? Where's this copper come from? It's more of a byproduct of stress, actually, and the way that we live, what we eat, the fact that zinc is being taken away from our diets, just means that copper will tend to rise in the body. Adrenal fatigue causes it, candida, vegan diets, vegetarian diets. And copper will tend to rise in the body and kind of accumulate in cells. And copper is like a stimulant to the brain. And it causes a lot of insomnia and a lot of sleep difficulties. And you'll generally find that as your levels start to balance out, your insomnia, your sleep issues will tend to improve. EMF sensitivity, electromagnetic sensitivity. Now, this is something that a lot of people are unaware of. And a lot of people will just kind of boo-boo it and just think it's untrue. So EMF is real. EMF sensitivity is a very common problem. We're getting 5G radio signals, 4G, 3G, Wi-Fi, DTEC. We're getting low frequencies from cables and telephone wiring. We're getting house wiring. And all these kind of stimulate the body somewhat. And it can basically cause sleep difficulties. So you want to be getting in touch with, you want to understand EMF sensitivity. I'm currently making an EMF sensitivity course, online course. So if you want to know more about that, sign up on our website, deephealingspace.com/newsletter. Once that's finished, I'll send that out to everyone. That's going to go really in depth into EMF sensitivity, why people get it, what to do about it, how to test for it, and how to basically overcome it. Another issue is low calcium, magnesium and zinc. Now, these are kind of the sedative minerals in the body, and basically what happens is the body will use up these minerals when it's under stress. So it can be stress from anything, it can be stress in relationships, can be stress, family stress, diet stress, work stress, insomnia stress. So these will tend to be removed from the body, and as a result what happens is when you're trying to get to sleep at night, the body doesn't have the resources to kind of calm itself down and put itself into a kind of sleeping mode. Everything I'm kind of talking about, by the way, is rectified and understood by following a nutritional balancing program. Anyone that doesn't want to start that yet, you can sign up to our membership on our website, deephealingspace.com, which gives you a kind of rundown of the nutritional balancing program in video format, which is really helpful for a lot of people. Another problem is something called sympathetic dominance. So sympathetic dominance is basically when a person is in a fight or flight response, again usually from chronic stress. So when the body is in the kind of sympathetic dominant pattern, the body is kind of in this wound up, stressed, anxious modality, and it can be quite difficult to kind of switch off, and one of the best ways of doing it is by following the program and doing meditations and just slowing down and just kind of relaxing, and after a while the body will kind of switch off the sympathetic node, which often has been going on for years, and switch into a more parasympathetic state of being. And that just allows a person to be much more calmer, and it allows a person to get to sleep better. A lot of people use stimulants which keep them up at night. Sometimes they're not even aware of it. Chocolate, for example, is can be very stimulatory. Caffeine, exercise, believe it or not, you know, a lot of people will do exercise, and this actually stimulates the adrenal gland, stimulates the thyroid gland, keeps a person up at night. Sugar's another stimulant, and obviously things like alcohol and cigarettes. Cigarettes will definitely keep you up at night. They again stimulate the thyroid gland and kind of give you this kind of wound up feeling, which is not really nice, and you can struggle to get to sleep. Another important factor is understanding the supplements that we recommend on the Nutritional Balancing Programme. There are some supplements that can keep you up at night if you're not aware of them and not aware of how they're working in the body. Again, it's kind of different to each person, so if you want in a more in-depth look at this, send me an email. But like the main culprits usually are the glandulars that we have. Megapans can be a problem. It's a B complex vitamin, kind of we use it primarily to raise the oxidation rate, but that can keep you up at night. Kelp is another problematic supplement, so be aware of that. And also things like vitamin E and vitamin C can also keep you up at night. Trauma. Now, a lot of people have gone through traumatic experiences in their life, even if they're not even aware of it. Often this has come from early childhood patterns that often relate to their parents and their caregivers, and it can cause this kind of blockage in the mind, and the person's not really fully aware of it. It's one of the reasons why we kind of recommend the pushing down exercise on the program, because it'll slowly bring up all these traumas to the surface to be healed. But yeah, it's one of them things that you kind of got to work on and work with someone to kind of get to the bottom of the traumas. And when they come out, it's often attached to a toxin, a toxic metal, copper for example, and you'll kind of release these metals, and you can have kind of temporary insomnia, but after that it gets much better. A lot of people are worried. Fear and anger. You know, a good thing to do at night is to kind of journal. Get all your worries and your fears like onto paper so you can kind of sleep a lot better at night. Another interesting one is spiritual evolution. So when you're starting a nutritional balancing program, your awareness will tend to increase, and you'll become more aware of the world and truths and lies, and sometimes it's quite shocking, and you can kind of, friendship groups are no longer suitable for you, relationships are no longer suitable because you're going on this trajectory upwards. And what happens is that this can cause like spiritual madness, a lot of people call it, and it's really anxiety producing. You feel lost, and it's a little bit like walking through a room pitch black and you're kind of just using your hands to feel your way through it. So sometimes that can keep you up at night because you're just kind of thinking about things and trying to put things to bed, and no pun intended, and just, you know, just going over these things over and over and over again. And it's a really interesting one. I've had it quite a few times. Another one is people don't eat enough. So the body's kind of stressed out, it feels like it's in a fasting pattern. Again, this starts to stimulate the glands, keep you up at night. Saunas can keep you up. Some saunas have got high EMF fields, for example, can stimulate you. I tend to, it's different for each person. Like for me, if I do a sauna at night, it can keep me up at night, but for another person it can put them to sleep. So it's one of the things that you kind of got to kind of feel your way through yourself individually, and you know, you should kind of figure out whether saunas are a problem for you, whether it's EMF, you know, whether you're actually releasing a toxin, which is a good thing, and you got temporary insomnia, for example. The same goes for enemas. A lot of people are super sensitive to the caffeine in the enemas. They'll do an enema at night and the caffeine will start stimulating the system a little bit too much and keep them up. So again, you need to kind of do some experiments with that and figure out whether enemas are keeping you up at night, and if they are, it might be best to like reduce the coffee or do them in the morning, etc, etc. Another one, drinking after around 6-7 o'clock. You know, the more that you start drinking into the night time, the more the body will want to wake up in the middle of the night in order to go to the toilet. So I used to do that, and yeah, I quickly stopped drinking after around 6 o'clock. Hyperglycemia, like most people today have got hyperglycemic problems. A good thing to do if you've got hyperglycemia is to try and eat 6 to 7 meals per day. I got to a point when I was following the program when I was so hyperglycemic, I was having like 7-8 meals per day, small meals, just to try and keep my blood sugar in balance a little bit. But if your blood sugar's out of whack, it can also keep you up at night as well. Ejaculation. This is an interesting one. It keeps me up at night if I do it too much. Basically, semen and sexual fluids have a lot of zinc in, and basically if you're losing these fluids, the body's having to use up zinc in the system to you know, recharge the sexual fluids. So basically what happens is that zinc's no longer there to provide you with some restful sleep, and it can keep you up at night. That's an interesting one that I had to figure out myself. I wasn't really wondering some of the reasons why I wasn't sleeping, and I kind of realised that actually if I you know, didn't do it, I slept much better. Other things are like toxins, mercury, lead, cadmium. They can all stimulate the body if they're coming out of the system, or if you've ingested them for whatever reason. Can keep you up at night. Other things like noise, and I know it's an obvious one, but you know, are you in a noisy environment? Do you need to wear earplugs? Do you need to put tissue in your ears? I spent a year in Thailand and really struggled with the noise out there, and I used to have to put tissue, cotton wool in my ears most nights so I could get to sleep. Another thing is light. You know, sometimes I've slept in a bedroom where the street light is shining through and you just can't get to sleep. You know, you don't realise it sometimes that it's the light that's causing the problem, but as soon as you kind of black out the room and make it pitch black, you'll find it's much better to get to sleep. Another interesting one is tight muscles. A lot of people's muscles are basically like adhered to the system, and it means that the body just can't kind of relax and rest and kind of sit into itself. So it's important to get chiropractic work. You know, the program does help with kind of breaking up adhesions, and you know, deep massage can help. Making sure that your jaw is aligned, for example, because that can also kind of send off the body in weird adhesional structures. Staying up late is another one. If you're awake after around 10:30 p.m, the body will switch into its sympathetic mode system in order to keep it awake at night, and that can also stop you from getting to sleep. Other things, maybe your program's changed, so you know, you might have been given a slow oxidizer kind of program and you haven't had a test for a while, and you kind of switched into fast oxidation. So you know, you're in this kind of different way of, your body's in a different mode. You might be taking supplements that you shouldn't be taking because you're in fast oxidation, so then you need to supplement for slow oxidation, etc, etc, and that kind of brings you down to a new level again, which is super important. You know, other things like 4 lows, for example. So 4 lows pattern, you know, when all the 4 macrominerals are kind of lowered down, this means, you know, you haven't got your calcium available, magnesium available, and it just creates this wound up feeling where it feels like the mind's kind of switched on, like a light switched on in the brain, and you can't really shut it off. It's really frustrating. But again, the Nutritional Balancing Program helps with kind of all of that. So I'm just going to quickly go over some kind of tips to sleep a bit better. One of the best tips that we kind of use for people that are kind of mildly suffering from sleep problems is extra pyramine. Pyramine's a calcium magnesium supplement that we use on the program. Whenever I wake up in the middle of the night and I struggle to get back to sleep, if I pop a couple of pyramines or even 3 pyramines, usually I'll get back to sleep. In extreme cases it's much more difficult. As I said before, make sure you're doing enemas and saunas in the morning. Try that, test that, see if that's helping. Obviously try and avoid stimulants, coffee, loud music, working at night, being on the iPad, exercise at night. All this kind of stuff's going to keep you up. I'm basically talking about the opposite of kind of what I said before. So stopping the stimulating supplements, for example. Try stretching, maybe doing a bit of reflexology. That kind of helps. Rubbing the feet will tend to kind of move energy downwards and kind of create this calmness to a person, which is really grounding, kind of helps you to get to sleep. Read and listen to kind of uplifting material. Even you could listen to like boring podcasts, for example, like just listening to some boring voices over and over again will kind of just bore you a little bit and put you to sleep. Go for a walk in the daytime is always good. Get some fresh air, get yourself grounded, get your body moving a little bit, get your circulation going. You know, things like gardening can be good, some gentle hiking, all that kind of stuff. I love getting out in nature. You know, when I get out in nature, I tend to sleep much better at night time, so that's really good. Try and go to bed earlier. I know it's kind of sounds counterintuitive, but if you're going to bed and your body's not getting into that stimulated mode after 10:30 p.m, then you'll find that the body will kind of rest much easier. And if you go to bed a little bit earlier and you struggle to get to sleep, like, at least you've got more hours in the night for you to have the opportunity to get to sleep. So that's always kind of worked well for me. You know, if I usually go to bed at 10, or you know, if I go to bed at 9, it gives me an hour, and you know, it kind of helps a little bit. And then I'm asleep at 10, and then I'm up a little bit earlier. So that's always good. Try having a cold shower. Again, this is always good for EMFs as well. Like, if you have a shower and you shouldn't have a cold shower, the best thing to do is have cold water on your feet. So what that does is it kind of pushes blood downwards into the extremities of the feet, and it just allows the body to kind of relax and settle into itself and just become much more sleepy. It's also good for EMF sensitivity. Getting water on the body before bed will kind of dissipate the electromagnetic fields, and this is another good way of trying to get to sleep at night. Make sure the room's dark, you know, obvious things. Make sure the room's warm, make sure it smells okay, you know, it's not full of toxins. You could use eye cover, that used to help me quite a lot. Make sure the room's clean, all these kind of stuff. I know it sounds like obvious, but a lot of people just will miss blacking out their room, for example, or they'll have toxic kind of mattresses that can all stop a person from falling asleep quite easily. So make sure none of these are overlooked. Like, if you get your sleep area sorted out, it's much better to get to sleep. You could try other things like drinking chamomile tea, rescue remedy. You could use things like slippery elm, and other kind of natural sleeping agents. Valerian, for example, is quite good. You know, if you look on Dr. Wilson's website, drlwilson.com, search for sleep, there's an article on there which I've got most of this information from, that will give you some kind of tips and hints, and in article format, which is good. You know, when things get a bit more intense, and a good thing to do is to chew Paramin throughout the day. So if you're having like 2 Paramins like every 3 hours, or you know, quite regularly, like you might think you're ingesting a lot of calcium magnesium, you are, but it's quite safe, and you can chew them so it gets into the body quicker, and that kind of allows the body to just relax and rest itself over a prolonged period in the day. So it means that when you get to bed at night, you're not so stimulated, so the body can kind of rest a little bit and relax, and that really helps with getting to sleep. That's helped me in a lot of times when I've had more extreme insomnia, because you'll have insomnia, you get up in the morning, and the problem is the body's kind of stimulated because it hasn't slept, so it's using its adrenal glands and the thyroid gland to keep itself going. So it's you kind of get yourself into this catch-22. So I used to chew Paramin all day. And you know, one of the problems is that it can make your stools a little bit loose, but it's much better to have a loose stool than not to get to sleep at night. So that's something you can do. If you're having like a copper dump, so that can really affect with insomnia, things like molybdenum can really help. There was a supplement by Endomet called ICMN. They don't actually stock it anymore, but it's got things like choline and inositol in it. And that can really help if you're going through an extreme case of insomnia that's caused by things like copper toxicity. I'm not sure the ingredients, but if you type in ICMN into Google, I'm sure you'll find the ingredients list on there. Try and match up the same ingredients and use that if you think that you've got a copper toxicity problem. When I was going through an extreme copper dump, you know, ICMN was like a lifesaver for me. It really just brought me right down to ground level. extra zinc is good, extra B6 is good. You could use things like 5-HTP, and if it's really, really, really bad, we do say it might be an idea to get some sleeping tablets. It's not ideal, but it is important to get some sleep, so you should be trying to do that. Now, I've gone through periods in my life when I've had bad insomnia, and it is probably the worst thing that I've experienced apart from EMF sensitivity. There's nothing worse than not being able to get to sleep. It is terrible because the whole day is kind of ruined and you get anxious and you get this wound up sensation. It's really bad. So I'm just trying to think of like, if I was going through that situation, what I would do. So what I would do is I'd make sure that I'm still following the nutritional balancing program, still doing the diet, still getting my cooked vegetables, but what I would probably do is I would have more oils on my food just to keep my body more grounded, more in slow oxidation. I would eat more meat. I would put more meat in the diet, so I'm getting more zinc. Try and eat more steaks, probably more than what I usually would do, just to try and keep my body down. Make sure I'm getting a big pile of veg for each meal, which also keeps my body downwards. I probably would skip the enemas and the saunas, just because they don't really work for me when I go through bad insomnia. I would have Paramin throughout the day, so I'd have like 2 Paramins, at 9 AM, 11 AM, 1 PM, 3 PM. So I'm having a lot of Paramin, but it's just keeping my body down and grounded. I would also probably go out and try and go for a walk. Like, it's not really a good idea just to stay in the house and you're constantly thinking about sleep and it's on your mind. Try and get out, even if it's with friends. It's good to have a support system around you. Like, I've got a few friends that kind of know what I do and know what I'm all about, and they're really supportive, and they will help me through it, and I can talk to them about my problems, and it just makes things much nicer. Living with other people, I tend to find kind of helps. You kind of feel, it depends on the person, but sometimes my insomnia used to come with the fact that I was on my own. I used to live on my own. I didn't like that kind of separation feeling. I like to be around people, so getting a flatmate kind of really helps with my sleep and things like that. I would do more reflexology. That really, really helps just to bring the body down, down, down. I would do more meditation. I would make sure I'm really hydrated, super, super important. I have 2 to 3 litres per day. And maybe use something like 5-HTP. And I try not to worry about it, I used to worry a lot about sleep, and now I realise that if I'm not sleeping, there's always a reason behind it, and usually I'm detoxing, usually I've got something on my mind that I need to resolve, and just relax, just try to relax. I know it's difficult in the moment, but when you're in bed at night, and just try and relax, and just understand that you will get to sleep, and if you're kind of worrying about it too much, it's not good. Like, if you can't sleep, the best thing to do is just to completely do nothing, just kind of lie there in bed, and like, at least the body can rest somewhat, rather than kind of getting yourself wound up about it and worrying and anxious. That can kind of just make things worse a little bit, which is not really a good thing to do. I would get a new hair analysis program, because it's likely that your hair analysis has changed, so that's really important to do. And yeah, make sure you're breathing fresh air, and you'll tend to find that you get over it. It's a good idea to try and figure out the reason why. Usually it's a toxin, that's the usual one, and then that kind of, you're not worried as much anymore, because it's like, okay, the reason why I'm not sleeping is because I've got a toxin coming out of my system. Do you understand what I mean? So you're not kind of blaming yourself, or like wondering why there's something wrong with you that's not making you get to sleep. No, it's just the toxins coming out. Or you might have had a bereavement, for example. Obviously that's going to keep you up at night. Just little things, just try and figure out the reason why is much, much better. Maybe you've gone into fast oxidation. I'm in a position now where I can feel my oxidation rate, and I know at the moment I'm in a little bit of fast oxidation, and my sleep hasn't been as long and deep as what it has been when I was in slow oxidation, and I'm super aware of that, and I make sure that I don't like overstimulate myself too much. I make sure that I take my supplements that are keeping me grounded and down. You know, just make sure I'm getting enough protein in my diet and stuff like that, because I know that I don't want to be speeding up this oxidation rate anymore, because it can be quite dangerous. Alright, so that's pretty much everything. As I say, everyone's sleep issues are unique, so if you want me to do like a personal look at your situation, please send me an email, lewis@deephealingspace.com. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and sign up to our newsletter, deephealingspace.com/newsletter. I've got a lot of cool information coming out soon, courses on EMF sensitivity. I've just done a new service whereby I'm going to start answering people's questions. If you send me an email with your question, and I'll let you know that how you can get that question answered. Alright guys, well thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers.